Welcome back to Retrospec. In case you missed the first 4 episodes of this operation, here's the recap. We have taken this 2001 Peugeot 406 Coupé from a pretty sad state, and after months of work in what felt like the North Pole of garages, we made her, well, less sad. In the last episode, the Coupé passed the state inspection with flying colors,
no defects,
and got registered. And apart from minor cosmetical issues, the car was done and ready for her daily driver duties. But if you watched the ending of the last episode, you know that was not to be. So, here's what happened. Shortly after finishing the project, I pull into a gas station and park at the pump. The guy in the crafter behind me passes me on the left with like 5 centimeters to spare, and as he's just about past my driver's door, he starts pulling right. Sensing what was gonna happen, I lay into the horn, but it was all in vain. He doesn't correct course, he doesn't brake. He just plows that huge hunk of
Volkswagen
right through my life, smashing the left fender, and more importantly, he destroys the front bumper. Now, those of you familiar with the car are already cringing, so let me explain why to the rest of you. Coupé front bumpers are extremely rare and are expensive to replace, so this gave me a couple of months to create memes, contemplate my life choices, and drift stitch my front bumper to be able to move the car around a bit. Until I found a new one, so here it is. I also picked up a replacement fender, which is in rough shape, but what was in even rougher shape was the front bumper. It has the openings for the headlight washers, which I don't need, my car doesn't have that. It's broken in multiple spots, but it was less than half the price of other bumpers in even worse condition, so I couldn't pass it up. Alright, got this thing on the table, let's get to work. To start, I'm gonna remove the lip. Well, since my plastic repair experience has been very limited, I'm gonna start in a spot where if I mess up, nobody's gonna see it, which is here. Alright, that was taking a bit too long, so I turned to crème brûlée again. I heated up certain areas and then I pushed it in with the pliers, and now it's an integral part of the bumper. Now it's all about making it look good. I'll make sure the lip still fits. It does. Okay, next step would be a little bit of filler and then paint with the rest of the bumper. Next up at this piece here, we have to do the other side as well. This time we have 2 pieces to play with. Yep, that's in. Alright, that has been it for broken stuff repair. Now for the crack repairs. Here's the first crack. I'm gonna go ahead and mark the end of the crack on all of these cracks and drill a pinhole to prevent the crack from propagating. Right, now the cracks won't propagate further, so we can get to the rest of the repairs. Okay, I think I have my technique down by now. So I cut it in a way that it follows the cracks and it fits the shape of the bumper, like so. And now, if you heat it up and push it in, it will look like this. And it's gonna be solid. Right, this crack is repaired. Now, to the main event. Now there are multiple cracks here. This whole fog light headlight washer assembly holder is cracked all over the place. Now I do not need the part with the headlight washing thing. I only need this bracket and these 2 for the fog light. So I'm gonna take a look at how we're gonna fix that. Okay, I have filled it with 2-component epoxy and now it has to dry. Now I'm going to do the same with this one and try to fill all the holes that need filling. So these fog light holders are usually hot stamped in place. These are the factory points where they were stamped, and they did not use all the points. These were left, and there were some up here which I used to reattach this thing. So now it's solid. And I also cut off the dead weight here so it doesn't rattle, since we're not gonna have the headlight washing system. So I'm almost done here. The bolt holes for the fog light are not in the best shape. This is what they should look like. So I think that's a job for the 3D printer. While we wait for the 2-component epoxy on the bumper to sit, I thought I might crack on with the front wing, which is pretty straight except for this corner where the paint is cracked. This here is a bit deformed and there are scratches all over. So let's crack on. That is as straight as I'm gonna get it. Right here there's a low point. I'm gonna try to hammer that out as much as I can. By the way, this is not a how-to. I have never done bodywork in my life. I keyed the whole panel and I found that this spot has been repaired. You can see the filler in here and also these 2 spots right here. But now it's all smooth. So I primed the wing to make any low spot more visible, and I've hammered them out as much as I could. You can see the hammering marks here. Okay. Right, here we are. It's feathered in, and we were able to rebuild this part here. This is how it's supposed to look like, only mirrored. And this is what mine looks like. So I was able to recreate this piece here, and it's epoxied in. I have done all the cracks, as well as smoothed out a transition to the pieces we fixed right here and right here as well. I also closed up and sanded the holes for the number plate. Viewers who have an idea about bodywork are probably pulling their hairs out by now, but this is the best I could do. So let's see how it turns out. I don't know. Right, here's the state of the bumper after 1 pass of sanding. I still feel a slight low spot here. There's a huge low spot here. This one is mostly flat. This one as well. There's a small flat spot here. This edge is not rounded as it should be, so I'm going to round it back. And then we're going to move over to other repairs.
300 rounds of filler and sanding later.
So if you remember, we have these cracked fog light holders for which I 3D printed some parts, which will fit in here and be held in with riv nuts. Okay. You can try out the fog light. Oh yeah. That is good. So the next step is spray filler. Well, the cracks have disappeared, but the surface is a bit rough, so I'm gonna wet sand that now with 400 grit. And I think then it's gonna be ready for painting.
We're just about to get our first pictures, and we'd like to... Ah!
Do not ignore any kind of rust, because it spreads like cancer. If you remember, this wasn't even a problem when we first got the car, but look at it now. After just not even a winter, like 1/3 of a winter. Well, I'm gonna have to take care of that. Someone glued this in. Beautiful job.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just lost the picture, but what we've seen speaks for itself.
It's time for the unboxing. Behind door number 2, nothing. There's literally nothing. behind here. Oh, okay. Oh, I chipped the paint. Look what I found lying in here. It's a piece of the bumper carrier. Okay, to remove the wing, we have 2 bolts in the back and 1 bolt down there. I'm gonna remove those, and then we have 3 bolts up here, and it should be bolted on over here as well. So I'm gonna remove all of these and take off the wing. Oh, there we go. Alright, here's the bumper carrier, and as you can see, it is damaged on the right side. That was easy. Alright, very busy. Base coat is on. The color does not seem to be a perfect match, but I think that's because we don't have any clear coat on it yet.
One eternity later.
So what do you think about my newly acquired paint skills, people? Looks good, doesn't it? That's because it wasn't me who painted these. I gave up and I sent them to someone to get painted. Now they're back from paint and it's time to put them on the car. So let's do that. Almost done installing the bumper. As you can tell, the panel gap between the wing and the bumper is not perfect in the front. I'm not sure why that is. I tried to fix it, but I couldn't. Since I'm taking the car to the body shop again to get that rear quarter panel fixed, I'm going to tell him to try and get that done as well. So hopefully he can do it better than I did. Alright, I'm going to turn the camera off and button up the whole bumper and wheel wells. Alright, there she is. Here's the old and the new. Back to looking pretty great. But before we head off to the body shop, let's take care of a couple of mechanical issues. As I mentioned in episode 4, I wanted to take care of the front wheel bearings, so I pressed them out off camera. We are also replacing the wheel hubs since they're tired, and I had to drill through this one in the very first episode. That bearing is in. Passenger side now. That looks good. There we go. And then it was off to the body shop. I did not want to interrupt the master at work, so this is the only footage I have from the process. And here's the result. He did an absolute stellar job, and the paint matches perfectly. It has no doubt been an interesting experience working on this car, and no doubt it is an unforgettable one. I had this exact picture as my desktop background as a teenager, and I finally got to experience the Coupé in every way imaginable. I'm gonna be honest with you. The original plan was to engine swap this car. But after living with it for a while, I had a change of heart. I believe you should have a connection to the car you're driving, and in my case, it simply wasn't there. So it's time to sell the Coupé and move on to a different project. They say never meet your heroes. Well, that couldn't possibly be more false. Meet your heroes and be disappointed, because it's disillusionment that leads to clarity.
Next time, on rétrospect.